The crowd fell silent. 15,000 people watched in disbelief as the most respected coach in tennis gathered his belongings and walked out of the stadium. His player, Serena Williams, stood frozen on the court, championship point against her, abandoned by the one person who promised to never leave her side. But what she did next shocked the tennis world and redefined what it means to be a true champion. Welcome to the Story Gook. Before we dive into this incredible story of betrayal, abandonment, and the birth of an unstoppable force, tell me in the comments from which city in the world are you watching today? And if you believe that sometimes our greatest enemies become our greatest teachers, hit that subscribe button, because this story will show you why champions are never truly alone. Marcus Rivera wasn't just any coach. He was the architect of miracles. When doctors said Serena's shoulder injury would end her career, Marcus proved them wrong. When critics claimed she was too old to compete, Marcus crafted a training regimen that made her stronger than players half her age. When depression nearly drove her from tennis, Marcus became the voice that pulled her back to greatness. For 3 years, they were unstoppable. Marcus would study opponents for weeks, finding weaknesses that other coaches missed entirely. He knew exactly what to say when Serena doubted herself. He could read her body language from across the court and send the perfect signal to fix her game. They weren't just coach and player. Tennis legend John McEnroe observed, "They were like a father and daughter who shared the same obsession with perfection." Serena trusted Marcus with everything: her strategy, her confidence, her legacy. When journalists asked about her comeback, she always gave him credit. When sponsors offered endorsement deals, she insisted Marcus be included. When other players tried to steal him away with massive contracts, Serena matched every offer. Marcus Rivera held Serena Williams' entire world in his hands, and on one devastating afternoon, he chose to drop it. March 23, 2019, the Miami Open Final, the biggest tennis tournament in America outside of the US Open. Serena Williams versus Ashley Barty, with millions watching worldwide. Everything had aligned perfectly for this moment. Serena had dominated every opponent on her way to the final. Her serve was untouchable, averaging 120 miles per hour. Her movement was fluid, graceful, deadly. Sports Illustrated had already written the comeback story. Nike had prepared the victory celebration campaign. Marcus sat in his designated seat in the coaching box, wearing his lucky red polo shirt and the same nervous expression he carried to every final. His laptop was open, tracking every statistic. His notebook contained 3 pages of tactical adjustments they'd prepared for Barty's unique playing style. The first set was poetry in motion. Serena dismantled Barty's game with surgical precision, implementing every strategy Marcus had crafted. 6-2, clean, dominant, beautiful tennis. As Serena walked to her chair, she looked up at Marcus and smiled. He responded with their secret signal, a subtle nod that meant trust the process. But tennis, like life, can change in a heartbeat. During the changeover after the first set, Marcus's phone buzzed. The caller ID showed a number from Madrid, Spain. Rafael Sandoval, director of the most prestigious tennis academy in Europe, was on the line with an offer that would change everything. "Marcus," Sandoval's voice was urgent through the phone. "I need an answer today. Head coaching position, triple your current salary, complete control over player development. This is your chance to coach the next Nadal, the next Djokovic." Marcus felt his heart race. For 3 years, he'd been successful coaching women's tennis, but his real passion had always been men's tennis. The power, the speed, the prestige. This was his dream job, but there was a catch. "The position starts in 2 weeks, Sandoval continued. "Our current coach just resigned. We can't wait. If you don't accept today, we're offering it to someone else." Marcus looked across the court at Serena, who was preparing for the second set of the biggest match of her comeback. 3 years of partnership, dozens of victories, a relationship built on trust and loyalty. Then he looked at his phone screen, where a text message showed the salary number, more money than he'd make in 5 years with Serena. "I need to think about this," Marcus whispered into the phone, trying not to let the courtside microphones pick up his conversation. "No thinking," Sandoval replied. "Yes or no, right now." Marcus Rivera made the decision that would haunt him forever. But first, he had to finish this match, or so he thought. The second set revealed why Ashley Barty was the smartest player on tour. She had spent the entire first set studying Serena's patterns, and now she began her counterattack. Drop shots that forced Serena forward, slice backhands that kept the ball low, perfectly placed serves that neutralized Serena's return aggression. At 3-4, serving to stay in the set, Serena faced her first real pressure of the match. She looked toward Marcus for the signal they'd practiced. Should she serve to Barty's forehand or backhand? Marcus was typing on his phone, already composing his resignation email. Serena's first serve sailed long. Her second serve caught the net. Double fault. The crowd murmured with concern. This wasn't the Serena who had dominated the first set. She lost her serve, then watched helplessly as Barty served out the second set, 6-4. Suddenly, this championship that had seemed decided was heading to a third set. Serena walked to her chair, confusion and frustration written across her face. For the first time in 3 years, when she looked toward her coaching box for reassurance, Marcus Rivera wasn't watching the match. Third set, 3-3. The match was perfectly balanced, and every point felt like it could determine the championship. Serena had weathered Barty's second set storm and was finding her rhythm again. One break of serve would likely decide the match. At 30-30 on Barty's serve, Serena hit a forehand return that caught the baseline. The crowd erupted. Break point, championship point. This was the moment she'd worked 3 years to reach. But when she looked toward Marcus for their pre-planned signal on how to play the next point, she saw something that stopped her cold. Marcus Rivera was packing his bag, not reorganizing his notes, not preparing for a coaching timeout, packing, folding his jacket, closing his laptop, gathering his belongings like the match was already over. The crowd noticed too. Cameras zoomed in on the coaching box. Commentators fell silent, trying to understand what they were witnessing. "Marcus?" Serena called out, her voice echoing through the suddenly quiet stadium. "What are you doing?" Marcus looked down at her, and for a moment, the man who had spent 3 years protecting her dreams seemed like a complete stranger. "I'm sorry, Serena," he said, his voice carrying across the court through the television microphones. "I have to go. You don't need me anymore." The words hit Serena like a physical blow. The crowd gasped. Tennis commentators around the world struggled to find words for what they were witnessing. Marcus Rivera slung his bag over his shoulder and walked out of the coaching box. Through the tunnel, out of the stadium, out of tennis history. He left Serena Williams standing alone on the court, with the championship of her comeback hanging in the balance. What happened next has been studied by sports psychologists, leadership experts, and anyone who has ever faced their deepest fear. When the person you trust most abandons you at your moment of greatest need, you have 2 choices: collapse or discover who you really are. Serena Williams chose to become legendary. Standing alone on that court with 15,000 people staring at her and millions more watching on television, something fundamental shifted inside her. The doubt that had lived in her mind for 3 years, the voice that whispered, "You need Marcus to win," suddenly went silent. "I remember thinking," Serena would later reveal, "that if he could walk away that easily, then maybe I was stronger than I ever imagined." The next point was a revelation. Without Marcus's strategic input, Serena stopped overthinking. Without his signals, she stopped second-guessing. Without his presence, she stopped playing his game and started playing hers. Her serve on break point was a 125 miles per hour ace down the middle. Barty never moved. 4-3 Serena. The crowd, initially shocked into silence, began to sense they were witnessing something extraordinary. This wasn't just a tennis match anymore. This was a woman discovering her true power. 5-3, then 6-3. With each game, Serena's tennis became more powerful, more instinctive, more authentically hers than it had been in years. She played like the champion she was before Marcus Rivera, like the champion she would become after him. When she hit the final winner, a cross-court forehand that painted the line while Barty could only watch, the stadium erupted in the longest standing ovation in Miami Open history. But they weren't just celebrating another championship. They were celebrating the birth of an even stronger version of Serena Williams. The post-match press conference was chaos. Reporters demanded answers. Where had Marcus gone? Why had he left? What had happened in that coaching box? Serena sat at the microphone, the championship trophy beside her, and delivered one of the most powerful speeches in sports history. For 3 years, she began, her voice steady despite the emotional earthquake she'd just survived. I thought I needed someone else to validate my greatness. Today, I learned that champions don't need anyone's permission to be champions. They just need to trust themselves. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Sometimes, people show you who they really are at the exact moment you need to see it. And sometimes, that's the greatest gift they can give you. The real story emerged over the following days, and it was worse than anyone had imagined. Marcus Rivera had indeed received the coaching offer during the match. He had accepted it via text message while Serena was fighting for the championship. He had walked out not because of an emergency, not because of a misunderstanding, but because he had decided his career was more important than finishing what they'd started together. The tennis world was outraged. Players refused to work with him. The Spanish Academy, embarrassed by the negative publicity surrounding their new hire, quietly rescinded their offer. Sponsors canceled endorsement deals. Marcus Rivera, who had abandoned his most successful partnership for a better opportunity, found himself with no opportunities at all. 6 months later, Serena Williams won Wimbledon. The coaching box was empty by choice. She had learned to trust the champion within herself. Marcus leaving, she said in her victory speech, was the best thing that ever happened to my career. It forced me to find the greatness that was always mine, not something someone else was creating for me. The story became legendary not just in tennis, but across all sports. Athletes from every discipline shared their own stories of coaches, teammates, and mentors who had abandoned them at crucial moments. But more importantly, they shared stories of how those betrayals had revealed their true strength. Today, when Serena coaches young players at her academy, she tells them about technique and strategy and mental toughness. But most importantly, she tells them about self-reliance. Coaches can guide you, she says, but champions are self-made. The moment you realize you don't need anyone else's approval to be great is the moment you become truly unstoppable. Marcus Rivera never coached at the professional level again. The Spanish Academy position disappeared within weeks. Other coaching opportunities dried up as word spread about his abandonment of Serena. He now works at a small tennis club outside Madrid, teaching recreational players basic strokes. Sometimes, students recognize his name and ask about his time with Serena Williams. I had the chance to be part of tennis history, he always says, his voice heavy with regret. But I chose money over loyalty, ambition over integrity. It's a mistake I relive every single day. He watches Serena's matches on television now, seeing the champion she became after he left. Each victory is a reminder of what he gave up, what he lost, what he destroyed with one phone call and one terrible decision. Serena Williams proved that true champions don't need someone else to believe in them. They just need to believe in themselves. She showed that sometimes our greatest victories come not from the people who stay with us, but from discovering we never needed them to begin with. The next time someone walks away from you at your moment of greatest need, remember the woman who turned abandonment into triumph. Remember that the people who leave you in your darkest hour are actually showing you something precious, that you're stronger than you ever imagined, because real champions aren't made by the people who stay with them. They're made by how they respond when those people leave. So now I ask you, have you ever been abandoned by someone you trusted completely? How did you find the strength to continue without them? Share your story in the comments and let us know what city you're watching from. Thank you for watching The Story Gook. If this story of turning betrayal into unstoppable strength inspired you, subscribe for more stories that celebrate the unbreakable human spirit. We'll see you in the next story. And until then, remember, sometimes the people who hurt us the most end up teaching us the most powerful lessons about who we really are.